This is just a quick walkthrough of how to set up your domain on Go High Level. Now, the first step is you're going to need to register the domain. I recommend just registering it or basically purchasing it on Cloudflare. It just makes everything easier. But if you're using GoDaddy or name.com or something else, that's totally fine. And then you want to use Cloudflare to manage the DNS. And I'll have another video explaining that. But for this video, we already had purchased this domain on Cloudflare, and the DNS is currently pointing to Cloudflare, and we don't have any records on it yet. That's what we're looking at here. So this is ready to go. So go to Go High Level. I'm going to go to Settings and then Domains, and then we're going to click Add and put in the root domain here. DHL.com. Root level is just without any subdomains. And you have this option here to automatically also add www. For most people, you're probably going to want to leave that on. And I'll also have another video explaining situations where you might want to have that off. But this is good. We'll leave that on. Click continue. Now, Go High Level is detecting where the DNS is currently being managed. So it detected it's on Cloudflare, which is great. I'm going to click authorize. You'll probably be prompted to log into Cloudflare and authorize lead connector. And you'll get this screen. Just click authorize. And now we just need to give it a few moments here for High Level to create the records in Cloudflare. If we come back to Cloudflare, we can actually see what's going on here. If I refresh this page, there, see it's added these two new domain records. And back in High Level here, High Level finished setting everything up on Cloudflare. Now it's prompting to either connect the domain to a funnel or to a website. Under advanced options here, you can also set this. If you skip it at this step, that's totally fine. You can configure it later on, which is what I'm going to show you here. So I'm going to cancel that. We've got the two domains here, the root domain and then this www it added. This little icon here is just letting us know that there was actually a redirect set up. Those redirects are under URL redirects. And all this is doing is if you go to www.levelupghl.com, it's just going to redirect to the root domain, which is great. That's what we want. So back in domains here, if I need to now associate a funnel with it, the reason to do it here in domains is you can set the default pages, which is really nice. And this is particularly important for setting the 404 error page, because it's pretty common that you connect a lot of funnels or maybe a website in High Level and then maybe change the URL of that funnel. And you want to make sure that GHL is going to end up serving an actual page instead of the default 404 error. So because we don't have anything associated with it, any domains or funnels associated with it yet, this is what people would see. So we want to avoid that by, we'll set a default page. So this is just basically like setting a home page for it. And okay, we'll just use this one for the moment. And usually what I do is set the home page as the default page and also the error page. But if you have a custom error page, you can do that as well. But by setting this 404 error page, you're basically just setting a catch-all. So anytime someone goes to a page that or invalid URL for that domain, it's just going to serve them up the home page. So where did that go? Okay, we'll set the home page. And robots text here, this is for SEO. So if you want to not allow search engines to index the domain, or if you want to exclude certain pages, you can do that here. Well, we're just going to leave it as is so it can index the whole thing. Now, if we come back into the page here, we can see our domain should be serving up the homepage. There we go. All right, now that the domain is set up, let's set up email in High Level. So under settings here, we're going to come into email services and then dedicated domain and IP, and then add domain. And we're going to put in our new domain. So levelupghl.com. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to route all emails. So anything at levelupghl.com is going to route into High Level. If you wanted to have normal inboxes, so you're using Google Suite or Outlook.com or something like that, and you wanted to have user at levelupghl.com, then in High Level here, you would actually want to set a subdomain. So a common one is mail. And then High Level is going to be able to use that subdomain, and it's not going to conflict with your Google Suite or Outlook inboxes. But if you want everything to just route into High Level, which is what I like to do, then we're just going to put in the root domain here. and then add and verify. And high level is going to detect that, again, the DNS is being managed by Cloudflare. And so I'm going to click continue so it can do it for me. If you did the add manual option, then it'll give you the records that you can copy and paste. All right, we're going to authorize. All right, here's all the records that it's going to add. Authorize, and again, give it a few moments there. Okay, so what happened in Cloudflare is it went in and created all these MX records and the SPF record, which is great. And in high level, we need to give it a moment to verify before we can actually use it in high level. So if you come in here and it's showing not verified, just click verify domain. And sometimes you need to do this repeatedly until it finally updates cache and is all fully verified. Okay, so this happens a lot. So most of them are verified, but I wasn't able to verify this one yet. And then the verify button is disabled. So in that case, just click back on dedicated domains. We're going to find the domain we just added. All right, yeah, so here it is, and it's not verified yet. So just click verified now again, and then verify domain. And you just kind of keep repeating that process until it properly verified it. So there it is, it's good to go. And we can come in here and go back to the verify page if we need to. What high level is showing us right now is that we do not have a DMARC field, and it's not going to automatically put in the DMARC fields, and I'll show you a better way to handle it. So if we're back on this page, as long as we see here that it's active and that the SSL is issued, then it's basically ready to go. One of the things you'll want to do for higher deliverability is come in and set headers. So this can just be whatever we want, but we're going to want we'll do support at levelupghl.com. Okay, and save that. So the reason for the header is to do with higher deliverability and keeping out of the spam box. The SMTP settings, that's if you want to use a mail warm-up service, which I'll have another video about that. But right now, this is fully configured and it's good to go. Because I have other domains connected here into email services, right now it's set for this other domain to be the primary one. I'm actually going to switch it here with this checkbox. All right, and now this will be the primary one. And what that does is that if you have emails going out in workflows or in conversations, that sets the default domain, basically the default email that it's going to use. All right, now that we have the email service set up, and again, this is set to be the default. But if you have multiple domains like this connected as an email service, you can come into domain configuration and then set the domain it's going to use for workflows and conversations, things like that. The bulk email, this is great. This frequency option is new. You can spread out your bulk email sending across multiple different domains. There's lots of reasons that you would want to do that. I often like to have one domain being used for conversations so that I know that's getting higher deliverability, and then another domain being used for bulk email. That way I don't have to worry if there's something going wrong with the bulk email or a lot of people unsubscribing or complaining. It's not going to prevent the conversation and the workflow emails from getting to people. So we've got everything now configured for this domain except for DMARC. DMARC is really important for domain deliverability or for email deliverability. And this changed in a big way towards the early part of 2024. Gmail, Outlook, and other providers really started enforcing DMARC settings. So the easiest way to do this is in Cloudflare. We're gonna come back in here and we see these are all the records that high level set up. And there is no DMARC record here yet. Cloudflare offers a free DMARC service, which is great. So come into email, DMARC management, and we're gonna click enable, and we'll click add. All right, and then back under DNS, it's here. Here's the record that Cloudflare added. All right, now that we have DMARC set up, we can see what's happening here. Come into DMARC management. Now, anytime somebody sends an email using your domain, so high level, which is using Mailgun on the back end, Whenever it sends, then reports will start to show up here in this DMARC interface and just kind of let you know who's trying to send out on your behalf. So anytime then someone is trying to spoof your domain and send fake emails that look like they're coming from your domain, those reports will also show up here. All this stuff, it's really just relevant and important for staying out of spam boxes. It's not something you need to keep a close eye on or monitor closely. Once it's all set up, you should be good to go. So what we want to do now is test to make sure everything is set up properly. A common website for doing that is EasyDMARC. So easydmarc.com, and just come in and put in our domain. Scan the domain, and we can see here, okay, there's a problem. So detected DMARC and it detected SPF. Those are the two most important ones. And then DKIM, it's not detecting it, but it doesn't actually mean that it isn't set up properly. So what happens here is the DKIM record that high level set up, and again, high level is using Mailgun on the back end. So the DKIM record is actually this thing. So it's this domain key record here. Either Mailgun or high level, I'm not sure, that recently changed it to this KRS subdomain, and that's a little bit non-standard. So doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means that EasyDMARC wasn't able to detect it properly. So we can actually just come into see details here. And we are going to click on DKIM. All right, and instead of using the auto selector, I'm going to just turn that off and put in KRS and then check. And then there, it was able to find it properly. Okay, so that's great. So if you're just following other guides and they're telling you to use EasyDMARC or a similar tool, just be aware that, or don't panic if it doesn't find the DKIM record. Ultimately, what we want to do is test sending out an email. That is by far and away just the best way to make sure everything's configured properly. There's a couple different ways to do that. There are, let's see if I got it here. Okay, there are a couple different services, and these are free. I like Mail Tester or mail-tester.com. It's super simple. Warm Up Inbox also has a free tool, and there's a lot of other ones out there. They all work essentially the same. So what we're going to do is inside of high level, whenever we go to mail-tester.com, it's going to randomly generate an email address for us. So if I refresh here, it changed that. I'm going to copy this email address, and then we're going to come back in to high level, and we can just do this from, let's see, conversations, and we're going to click new. Okay, now we're going to send a test email, and you can put whatever subject and message you want in here. Mail Tester and the other equivalent free tools, they're actually going to scan the message content as well. So if you have any particular keywords or anything that would potentially trigger spam, it's going to analyze that for you. So we're just trying to test to make sure everything was set up properly. So we don't need to worry too much about the content right now, but it's always a good idea to use Mail Tester or one of the other tools whenever you're sending out bulk email as well. You can test an email campaign and then make sure the score is looking good and it's not going to go to spam. All right, when we send this, and let's come back to Mail Tester, check your score, and it's just sitting in the background and listening for that email. And it just takes a few seconds. Let's check. Okay, so yeah, GHL sent it here. So that looks good. Okay, so we get a spam result. So you really want like 9.5 or higher, like a minimum of a 9. So there's some things we need to fix here. All right, so I had the DKIM, but something's going on with it. This, negative 0.1, that's fine. That's not the big penalty. So what's going on here is that it has to do with the content that was sent. So because it was such a short email, it's getting flagged for spam. And then this check, this is because it just detected that it was a test message. Okay, so what we want to do is do a new message. Let's go back and refresh this. Get a new address there. All right, we're going to do new message, paste in the new address. And I always like to just put in a name here so I know I can go back in and delete these contacts later on. Continue. Okay. And instead of saying testing, so let's see. So it wants, fairly long email. Let's see if we put in more of it, some stuff. I don't know if that's going to trigger it. Nice. Okay, and send it. Come back to mail tester and wait for it to arrive. But what these tests are confirming is that the SPF, the DKIM, and the DMARC, those were all set up correctly. So we weren't really getting penalized for that. We were getting penalized for the content. But this does show you the importance, especially for bulk email, of always testing before you send out to everyone. And again, I'd like to have a score of 9.5 or higher. Basically, I like to only be penalized for this because it's only a 0.1 penalty. And there's nothing we can do about this. This is just the way Mailgun is configured, and it's totally fine. But again, it was penalizing us because it was a really short message. But SPF is passing. Everything else is looking good. It's authenticated. It's not on any block list. So that is great. We just need to send a longer email to test. All right, now that email is configured, the domain is configured, all that's good. Now we just want to update the business profile settings and add the branded domain, and then we're done. So come into settings, business profile, we can put in the kind of default business email. I'm going to do support@levelupgl.com. You can put in phone number. All right, so for branded domain, this is what we're interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and save this here and make sure it's saved. Let's put in the website. Okay. Now, what this is going to do is if we don't have the branded domain in there, any links that get sent out, so from email or conversations or SMS, especially if they're using trigger links, it's going to use the high-level kind of default domains, which I think is like go.messenger maybe, or something like that. But we want it to be branded for a lot of different reasons. One, it's going to help with email deliverability because anybody who is using the default high-level domains, if that domain gets blacklisted, we don't want that to be a problem for us. And also too, it just looks a lot better. It's more trustworthy when it's coming from the actual domain. So a common one to use here is link. So I'm going to do link level up. You can have it be whatever subdomain you want, but I like using link. All right, we'll click add domain and continue. And again, this is going to check to see that, okay, it's registered, or the DNS is being managed by Cloudflare. So it's going to prompt us here, authorize domain. And we're going to authorize, and then just wait for this to finish populating, and then we are good. Okay, high level has finished updating Cloudflare for the link domain, so everything now is good to go. We've got the email set up, we've got the domain, we've got the branded domain, basically the link domain. All of that is now configured. There's just one extra little note that give some thought to the branded domain when you're initially setting this up. Because if you go in and change it later, you can, but there's always a risk that old links that you've sent out using the old link domain or the old branded domain, that they might not work very well anymore. And then you might have to send out new links. Now, it's not supposed to happen. The old links are still supposed to actually work, but it's just safer if you set this up, the first time around with a branded domain that you're happy with, and then you don't need to change it again. So, okay, the last step is to set up the client portal. And this is going to be for courses, for people logging into the client portal, for affiliates. So we're going to go to sites and then client portal settings, domain setup, and we're going to enter in a custom domain. So I'm going to do portal.levelupgl.com, click add domain, continue. And again, this is going to do the Cloudflare detection thing and authorize it. And then after that, any links that you're sending out for somebody to log into a course or the affiliate dashboard or anything, it's going to use this custom domain, which is great. And that's it. Those are all the different domains and subdomains. And now your high level is ready to go. There it goes, finished authorizing it. So we can come in and take a look at this too. Go to portal. That level up GHL .com. And there we go. We've got the custom domain and our portal. This is a little kind of bonus setup, but I'm going to show you a couple other things we do with domains that I do generally recommend that everyone set this up at the start, just kind of makes things easier later on. So if I come back into, let's go to settings and then domains. Okay, one of the things I like to do is always set up a subdomain for funnels. And the reason for that is because if you end up with lots of funnels or lots of websites in your sub account and you're just looking at the URL itself, it's really hard to kind of map that back to like which funnel is this, or like where do I actually find this thing to edit inside of high level. So let's add a subdomain for funnels. So we lp.dhl.com. That's a common one for just like landing pages, or we can set up, funnels and then click continue. Give it a moment here. It's going to detect Cloudflare. I'm going to authorize it. All right, now we just wait for Cloudflare to finish updating here. And once that's done, then we can use that funnel subdomain for all of our funnels so that at least we know where to find stuff. Okay, Cloudflare has finished updating, and now we're being prompted to connect this subdomain, so funnels.levelupdhl.com, connect it to a funnel or to a website. You want to be a little bit careful when you do this, because if you already have a website set up in high level and already connected to a domain, just be aware that if you come in here and essentially sort of reassign it. So if I want to take levelupthemes.com and set the home page, and we'll set the default page also to the home. If I link this now, that website that already exists inside of high level, it's going to now reassign it to funnels. So just be careful whenever you're messing with domain stuff. If you already have a lot of associations between existing funnels and websites and domains, just be aware that when you do this, it might replace that link. And it's a little bit sort of hard to understand, but here I'll do this real quick so you can see. Give a moment to link. All right, now if we come into this website, so that was Level Up Themes. And if we come to settings, so you can see it switched the domain here, which is not really what we wanted. So I'm gonna just quickly change this back to Level Up Themes, and we'll save it there. Okay, so that's just a little cautionary tale. Just be careful when you're changing domain settings. And you can do it from here as well. Come in and edit. When you go in and change these, it might update the URL that funnel or that website was already connected to. So anytime you add a new domain, anytime you mess with this stuff, just go in and double check everything and make sure it's still working like you wanted it to. All right, thanks.